Hey you guys, I am back, and today we're going to be doing a formal kind of sit down video because your girl got something to say and it's just really heavy on my heart to get it out. Y'all might see clips of me chewing in this video because I'm hungry. I haven't ate. But yeah, so today is going to be like a formal video. I've been working on some of these topics for a while. I've just been like slowly putting them in my notes as they come across my mind. So today we're going to be talking about things that I learned in my 20s. I'm 29 years old. I'm going to be 30 years old in 6 months. So I thought that I would do a video on just some things that I learned in my 20s that, you know, might help other people. Whether you're going to be in your 20s, whether you're already in your 20s. And I want to let y'all know, I might say some things that you might not like or might not be ready to hear, and that's okay. I might also say some very controversial things, but I wouldn't be saying it if it wasn't out here happening. So yeah, we're gonna get into it. The first thing that I want to talk about that I feel like is very important to know and to be aware of for the sake of your sanity and your peace of mind, you're not responsible for anybody but yourself. If you have children, I'm not necessarily talking to you because those situations get a little bit more complicated. But just as an individual, no kids, no nothing, you are not responsible for anybody but yourself. Bad things are gonna happen to you, and it's gonna be unwarranted. It's gonna be uncalled for, unprovoked. The only thing that matters is how you respond and how you react to it. Well, for the people that might be confused about that, I'm gonna give you an example. And this is a very embarrassing story, mini story that I'm gonna tell to, you know, hopefully y'all can understand where I'm going with this. Anybody out there that might think I'm perfect and I'm beautiful and I'm just an angel and I can never do wrong, yeah, y'all about to see that your girl definitely had to learn and had to grow, and I am not the woman that I used to be. So me, 19 years old, I had a boyfriend who I loved to the death of me, loved very, very much. One evening, I guess he just was at my house. I wasn't feeling well. It was like that first day on your cycle type of situation going on, and ladies, y'all know how that first day be. That first day, leave me alone. So I guess as he was leaving, like I think he just was like all over me, wanted some attention, and the more that I didn't want to be touched, the more he wanted to mess with me. So yeah, I was just like, you know, can you just chill out? Like, I just really don't feel well. I'm cramping. I got the worst cramps. Please, just I cannot deal with all of this right now. And that man told me, he was 21 at the time, or maybe 22. I think he was 21. He told me,
man, you can control that shit.
What?
that man told me that I can control my own cramps. I cannot control my cramps. They hurt. And when I'm cramping, I want to lay in the bed and I just want to sleep it off until it goes away. So yes, he tells me you can control that shit in just the most condescending tone, and it just was like, how dare you? Like, it was just a very insensitive comment. So I'm not even gonna lie to you, my immediate instinct reaction was to punch him in the face. Like, it was, man, you can control that shit. Is that okay? No, you don't put your hands on nobody. It don't matter what they say to you. You don't put your hands on nobody. That man could have called the police on me and I would have been in jail. Whose fault would it have been if I would have went to jail that night? What am I supposed to tell the judge? Well, he told me that I can control my cramps. What? You got yourself put in jail. You got yourself that charge. It don't matter what he said to you. It's about how you handle it. I use that as an example because some people might feel like, okay, well, yeah, he shouldn't have said that. I would have knocked him upside the head too. No, that's not okay. I think my response just made him feel apologetic, so he apologized when really I should have been the one apologizing. But you know, to an average person, you'd be like, no, you should have said that. Yeah, you deserve what you got. No, he didn't deserve what he got. He should have broke up with me right then and there, but he didn't. Now let's say he would have said, you know, I'm not gonna take you back until you apologize for hitting me. You would think the right thing to do for me on my end would to be apologize because I was wrong. But he can't make me apologize. What if I was just like, no, I'm not apologizing. You shouldn't have said that. You know, some people will feel like I was in my right. Like, yeah, you should have responded that way. That was very insensitive. No, that doesn't make it right. Just like what he said isn't right. But he can't make me apologize to him, and I can't make him apologize to me. If he chooses not to apologize to me and I choose not to apologize to him, we have the right to do that. Does it make it morally right? No. Would it make somebody unhappy if you don't apologize for your wrongdoing? Yes. But do they have the right to not apologize? Yes.
Okay, so I feel like my point didn't come off good enough. Basically, what I'm trying to say is whether you think something is right or wrong or could be handled better, people have the right to make whatever decisions that they want for their life. The only thing that matters is how you respond to it. If a person is with you every single day and they wake up one day and say, I don't want to do this with you no more, they got the right to do that, whether it hurts you or not. And they don't have to apologize. They don't owe you an explanation. People don't have to right their wrongs with you. They don't have to apologize for their actions. They don't have to take your feelings into consideration. The reality of the fact is that you're not going to get closure to everything that happened to you. You just have to accept things for what they are and keep going. Because if you don't accept it, it stunts your growth because you're too busy focusing on what this person isn't doing or what this person did do when you're supposed to be focusing on you.
I hope y'all get where I'm going with this. Like, you cannot control other people and other people can't control you. And you just have to accept that in life. Things are going to be unfair. Things are going to happen. And however somebody else chooses to respond to whatever happens that involves you, that's their business. That's not your business. And it doesn't make it any better if you are sitting at home and you are, fueling yourself with anger and frustration. How could you do this to me? How could you do this to me? While that person is over there, la 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 la. And you're just sitting at home with all of that frustration and anger. Years worth of frustration and anger. And they just carrying on with their life. To make it through your 20s, you're going to have to realize that the only person that you are responsible for is you. The only person that you can control is you. Yes, people are going to hurt you. People are going to hurt your feelings. They're going to do things to you, and it doesn't matter. None of it matters. None of it. The only thing that matters is how you respond to it. And if you want your peace of mind, the best thing you can do is keep it pushing. It's just best to just accept it and move on with your life. The next thing that I want to talk about is red flags. Never look for red flags in people. I don't know, everybody talking about red flags anymore. Don't look for red flags in people. Look for yellow flags in people. Some people, they never show up as who they are. They're going to show up as their best self every time, or at least they're going to try to. It's those yellow flags that you have to pay attention to. It goes yellow, orange, red. We usually don't see things until it gets to red. But if we would have spotted it when it was at yellow, and a lot of times we do spot it at yellow, and we just give him the benefit of the doubt, and then it turns red. I dated a guy who, when I first met him, he snatched my headphones out of my ear. I was minding my business. And I just was so taken aback. I just was like, whoa. And I was young, so I was like, oh wow, he must really like me. I can't, he doing all of this just to get my attention. Later on in the relationship, I ultimately left him because he kept crossing my boundaries. But he had been crossing my boundaries from the beginning. Look for the yellow flags. If the flag is red, 9 times out of 10, you missed it when it was yellow. Another thing that I want to talk about that I think is very important is about knowing what you don't want. I feel like in school, they always trying to get you to figure out, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want to be? What do you want to do? What are your plans after this? Blah, 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 blah. And a lot of times, those things that we want never necessarily come to pass, or they don't come to pass in the ways that we thought it would. But it's more important to know what you don't want than it is to know what you want. Because honestly, how could you know what you want at 18? When you're 18 and you're 25, those two should not be the same people. And if they are the same people, that means you're not growing and you're not learning. But yeah, you need to know what you don't want, because you would rather the things that you don't want not happen than to happen. So that's why I feel like it's more important. I've heard people say this. By the time I heard it was a little too late. But hey, maybe you catch this video before it happens to you, and you can plan things out accordingly and figuring out what you don't want. You need to know what you don't want so you can make sure you're taking the necessary steps and the preventative actions for those things that you don't want to not happen.
Okay, so I messed up on this part really bad, but I'm going to try to fix it here. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that I feel like the generations before us were just passing down information to a system that wasn't set up for us to succeed. From the beginning, when we're first in school, they're just automatically training us to like be workers and to be sheep, so we think that's the thing that we're supposed to do. And then when we get into our teenage years, they have us making decisions on our lives before we're even mature enough to make the decisions for ourselves. You know, I hope y'all get what I'm saying. So then you get out here in the real world and you see like, wait a minute, like this ain't right. In the midst of trying to figure out what you want to do, you get so caught up in the day-to-day of trying to maintain a life, try to maintain a roof over your head, food, clothes, you know, that you just end up making mistakes and derailing, and sometimes you don't realize what you don't want until it has already come to pass. So if you figure out the things that you don't want to happen, you can be more intentional in preventing those things from happening than not realizing it until it's too late.
Knowing what you don't want is what brings me to my next thing that I learned, and it's about the fact that you're gonna have to do a lot of unlearning in your 20s. I feel like a lot of things that we learn are things that are passed down to us, whether it's, you know, in the world or through our parents or just genetically passed down to us. And then that in combination with being caught up in trying to create a life for yourself as an early adult, we don't necessarily be having the time, and 9 times out of 10 it's going to be unlearning behaviors that you've seen growing up in your household. Which takes me to my next point, in the fact that definitely expect to have to forgive your parents for a lot of things in your 20s. We put a lot of expectations on our parents because they are our first role models, but the older you get, the more you're going to start to see your parents as humans and not necessarily as parents anymore. Life is going to put you in a position for you to see why your parents made a lot of the decisions that they made that may have angered you. We're all gonna have to forgive our parents for things. Whatever beef you got with your mama or your daddy, you ain't the only one. You're not the only one, and y'all ain't the only one having that problem. And if you ultimately want a relationship with that person, you're gonna have to forgive them for those things. Now I know some parents are very toxic. That's true. Some parents are very toxic. I didn't necessarily have super toxic parents. I wouldn't even say I had toxic parents. Maybe toxic to each other, but not necessarily toxic towards me. But I've had to forgive them for things. But my parents, they didn't necessarily like put me in environments to where it would cost me my peace. I'm very well aware that some people are in certain situations to where their parents, they literally just take away from their peace and they just gotta get away. You know, I definitely understand that, and I'm all for doing whatever gives you the most peace of mind. And if that means you do have to let go of that family member, you might have to have an estranged relationship with that family member. But if it's anything that is worth fixing, which most things are, just prepare to have to forgive them. And that forgiveness isn't necessarily for them, it's just for yourself, so you can move forward. You're gonna have to forgive your parents. If you're not ready to hear that, come back to this video in about a year or so. The next thing that I want to talk about is learning you. I feel like coming into my 20s, you know, you coming out of high school, you have lots of friends, you start working jobs, you meet more people, you're dating. Of course you're dating, which I'm not going to talk about dating, but just know dating in your 20s is a complete waste of time because you barely even know yourself. And you over here trying to learn somebody else. Why are you trying to learn somebody else before you even know you? And even then, like I said, if you know yourself at 18, you still don't know shit. My dad was the first person to tell me that. I was shouting, I'm grown at 18. And he told me, you not grown. And I was just like, you a hater. No, he was keeping it real. You're not grown at 18 and you don't know anything. I ain't gonna say you don't know anything, because some people, age doesn't necessarily, you know, measure up to maturity, but for the average 18-year-old, you don't know nothing. But in your 20s, you're gonna learn you. That same eagerness that you have to be a companion to somebody, how can you even know that you're being a good companion to somebody if you don't even know yourself? Why are you so eager to learn this person and you don't even put that into yourself? And the good thing that I know comes from learning you is that when you learn yourself, you can peep situations a lot better. You have better intuition when it comes to, you know what, I'm not even gonna waste my time with this because I know that this is not a situation that I can be my best self in. It keeps you from being easily influenced. When you're a teenager, you can be easily influenced, but in your 20s and dealing with even more people from different walks of life, you can get easily influenced, and it'll definitely derail you from staying on your path. Some people, they know what they want and they stick to that. But the people that know what they want, is it really what you want, or is it what somebody put into you? You'll spend a lot of your 20s defending yourself, and if you don't know who you are, somebody can come in, influence you. It can derail everything. But if you're sure of who you are and you've taken that time with yourself to learn who you are, and I ain't talking about just a year, because I spent a year with myself and was like, oh yeah, I can be alone. Don't get me wrong, I had a good time. I did date, but I didn't date seriously, you know. But I spent most of that time working. I wasn't spending no time with myself. I wasn't pouring into myself. I didn't show myself as much love as I could have. All those years that I spent trying to be a companion to somebody else, I wasn't even being a good companion to myself. The last thing that I want to talk about is independence. The traditional route, you know, that you hear in high school is like graduate high school, go to college, get a job, get married, have kids, and live the American dream. If you know anybody that has lived the American dream, I want you to ask them, are they happy? And after you ask them if they are happy, ask them if they could go back and change anything, would they? I spent majority of my 20s being independent, you know, being out here in society, having my own place and working a job. I'm not gonna say independence is a scam, because you can't just depend on any and everybody, but just rushing that independence and that responsibility, it's just not necessary. That's what I want to say. My dad was trying to tell me that for a very long time. It took him a long time of kind of like telling me that, and before I was just like, you know, what am I doing? I'm stressing about all of this stuff. If I could do anything, I would rather not have to pay all of these bills. Why do I feel like I gotta be so independent? Because it was instilled in me to be independent. You should never depend on a man. You should be able to know how to hold your own. But if you have somebody, if you have a parent or a sibling or even just like a best friend in your life that you know you can trust, it's okay to not be 100% independent at 18 and 19 years old. I did it, but I was very much stressed, and it was a lot of unnecessary stress that I didn't have to be going through. I would have to call my dad to help me. He wouldn't even make me feel like a shitty person about it. He just would be like, I keep trying to tell you, you're not grown. Why you didn't call me sooner? And I just be like, cause I want to be independent. I don't want to have to need you for nothing. He just like, no, you're gonna need me. And it's okay. It's okay to not be independent at 18. It is okay to be still trying to get on your feet, whether it's at 25 or 28 or 29. There is no blueprint on how to be an adult. You can do the same exact thing that somebody else is doing, and you're not going to get the same results. Your brain isn't even fully developed until you're like in your mid-20s. There is no right or wrong way. It's just your way. This is the path that you took. This is your path. Don't worry about nobody else's path. Their path is their business. And constantly comparing your path to their path, it's just going to make you miserable. And I don't subscribe to that. So yeah, this is some of the things that I just wanted to talk about. Of course, I have a lot more, but I thought I would just sum it up because I don't like to feel like I'm lecturing people. This was on my heart today. It was on my heart, if you couldn't tell. I hope I said some things that, you know, either you could learn from or you could resonate with. And yeah, I'll see y'all next time. Peace.